Up this week, we've gone a lot more in depth. There's lots of stages to this recipe, but it means you can end up with this restaurant style amazing dish packed full of flavour. So it's worth doing. We've got these pulled beef and oyster mushroom croquettes. We've got some blanched greens and the most perfectly cooked sous vide and seared fillet steak and an oyster and red wine reduction. Into there we're going to add some flavours. Now you can sear that beef off if you want, but to be honest with you, with the cooking low and slow over such a long period of time, it doesn't really make much difference at all. Into that we're going to add some liquids, so 3 glasses of red wine. We're going to add some smoked paprika, about 2 teaspoons, and we're going to add 4 cloves. We have got some good old fashioned Worcester sauce. Going to add around 2 to 3 teaspoons there. For a stock element, we've got some beef stock, just any old one like this will be absolutely fine, and then we're finally going to fill it up with a little bit of hot water. You want to pour that water in until it just lightly covers the top. Beef loves rosemary, so we have got 3 large sprigs out of the garden here. Just going to give them a little whack, and that can go in as well. And also, we all know that beef loves pepper too. A little bit of salt. And then on with our lid. These 2 little latches on the side, which once lined up, just pop down and seal it nice and closed. We have got this little probe, which just plugs into the side, which is great. When you're doing things like sous vide, you want to be able to monitor that temperature perfectly. So I'm going to set it later on for about, say, 59 Celsius. Being a slow cooker, I can actually insert this now into the piece of meat through the side. And I'm just going to insert that into the centre of the meat. So with this Russell Hobbs piece of kit, we've got several different functions which we can use. We've got the sous vide, we've got the temperature probe, and we've got a slow cook. Now, with slow cooking anything, you can either do it for sort of 4 hours, 8 hours, nice and slow and low. But you've also got the option then to either cook it by temperature or cook it by time. So you can put the probe in if you want to, and then you can turn this on, press the probe, set the temperature you want to do it for, and then press go. And it will find that temperature for you and carry on cooking. Or we can turn this on, we can go straight to the slow cooker, press that, and you can see here, that's the one which means keep warm. We don't want to do that. We want to do that at the end of the program. This one here is going to heat it for low and slow for 8 hours. I'm going to go for 4 hours and just going to start that. See you in 4 hours. And that's what you're looking for. It absolutely falls apart. It's that easily. Let's take it out and then shred it with 2 forks. Now we know we've got plenty of flavour in there because we know what we've been roasting that off in. So that is going to be rammed full of beautiful sort of botanicals and really nice sort of red wine flavours going through there. Which brings me on to the things we're going to put with it. Generous spoonful of Dijon mustard, so some French grain. We're going to add a tablespoon of horseradish, because we all know that beef goes well with horseradish. I'm going to add a generous ½ a tablespoon of our yellow strong English mustard. We've got some balsamic glaze, so this is reduced balsamic vinegar. We're going to add that in. We've got a dash of Worcester sauce, and then over here we've got some lovely fresh parsley. You get a pan up to heat, add some olive oil, and then finely cut an onion. In with our onion. Add yourself some porcini or oyster mushrooms, add it to some boiling water. It's going to give you that beautiful umami taste. Give that a good stir around and just let them soften off and release all that flavour into the water. We're going to take a small ladle of our stock and a small ladle of our stock from our mushrooms. We have got some fresh chives. That can go in with your onions. Off with your heat. And that can go straight in. All our other goodness. So we've got out our mushrooms, just put them onto a board, cut them up, and then we're going to add them to our pulled beef mix. We want to maintain all that flavour that we've got there. I've cooked off some mashed potato. So we've got ourselves a pan here.
Now add the potato to the pan and your beef mixture.
Just want to grab up some of your mixture. It's going to get messy. I'm going to roll them into nice little balls. Don't worry about the shape too much, because we are then going to freeze these for 20 minutes and then you can re-roll them into perfect balls. So we've got our stock here. We don't want to waste any of that, and now I know if I was back working in a pub again, I would let that cool and I'd strain off the top layer of fat. Me personally, I think fat's flavour, so I want to try and keep as much of that in there as possible. So we're going to reduce that down really nicely with a little bit of red wine, a little bit of our mushroom sauce, and we have the most perfect jus. So we've got our mushroom sauce here as well. Now those two flavours combined are going to have all those 4 hours of flavours going in there, and the real strength of umami from the mushrooms. It's going to be insane. So we've got a separate pan over here, and I'm going to use all of this because I'm just going to use some for the recipe and the rest I'm just going to freeze, because this sort of stock, if you reduce this down and you add some corn flour to this or some flour to it, a little bit of red wine, some more rosemary, and you sweat that down, or reduce it down, sorry, you're going to have the most amazing gravy for your Sunday roast.
Now we're going to fill up our Russell Hobbs with water, so we're ready to sous vide our steak.
I'm going to pop that just on the top, and we've got our sous vide rack which is going to hold the meat in place, like so, and then we can get on with actually getting our fillet steak on the way. So we've got ourselves a Ziploc bag, which means we can use this again.
We've got our fillet steak coming up to room temperature.
And likewise with all meats, we're going to just give it a nice little season. Salt, pepper. As that is, I would usually put things like garlics and rosemaries in there, but to be honest with you, I just want this to taste like a beautiful piece of fillet steak. So I'm going to leave that completely empty. I'm going to leave my zip open. I'm going to add that to the water, push that down so it's all submerged, and that all the air's come out, and I can just zip that shut. I can put on my lid, again, catches on the side.
Now in with our probe. The probe will be monitoring the water this time and not our meat.
And we're going to just have a little quick check on the temperature. So sous vide button, 60 Celsius, and I'm going to go. It's at 33 at the moment. It's going to get up to 660, and it's going to cook for about an hour and a half. Right, so our fillet steak is done. Our croquettes are nice and chilled away. This can now be opened up. You can see the amount of flavour that's come out of that steak there. Right, that can just go to one side. We're going to get this pan piping hot.
We're going to add our fillet steak into a buttered pan, making sure we brown all 4 sides.
Baste that butter all over the top. Now grab ourselves another board, pop that to one side, and that can just sit there just to rest. So these are nice and chilled down now. They're still, you can still feel they're quite warm in the center, but the outside is nice and chilled, which means I can roll them into a lot nicer balls. First step, into the flour, nice even coating. Into the egg, again, nice even coating, try and keep them in shape. Then finally, into our lovely breadcrumbs. I'll grab ourselves a spoon, slotted spoon, and then add that straight to the bowl. And exactly the same with the rest.
And there we go, after a couple of minutes you get the most perfect golden croquettes. Now we can get some vegetables on the go.
So all I've done is bring that water to the boil, turn off the heat, in with your greens, and we're going to quickly do a really nice reduction with our sauce. So we have got our mushroom and our beef brisket red wine stock.
I'm going to heat the pan up, add some red wine and a balsamic glaze to thicken it up, and I'm going to add some stock straight to the pan.
We're going to get that piping hot, reduced by about a third, and then we can serve this one up. We've got some corn flour, add a generous tablespoon to a mug, and we're just going to make a quick slurry with this. So some cold water, and that can go straight in. And we can serve this one up. Some we've got ourselves a nice big serving dish. So we've got some of our beautiful sauce. I might add that straight into the middle. We've got our beautiful pulled beef croquette. See, this personally, for me, I could probably eat by myself, but it's really probably enough for 2 people. I just want to slice this open so you can see the inside, see how it's got a crust on the outside and it's perfectly soft and tender in the middle. Because the Russell Hobbs sous vide really does keep that temperature perfect. And there we go. Beautifully soft, crust on the outside. Now generally if I was just to pan fry this, that crust would be about ½ an inch into the steak. A little bit of pepper, just around the top. Now I know there's a lot to this recipe, but sometimes it's so important to take a bit of time to do something a little bit special. We've got lots of food here. That is my pulled beef croquette with a beautiful oyster reduction, red wine jus. We've got some seared, beautiful greens, and lastly, our perfectly cooked sous vide fillet steak. If you want to know more about the awesome bit of kit that I've used today, this Russell Hobbs cooker, which cooks 3 ways. As I say, it's got the sous vide, the temperature probe cooking, and obviously the slow cooking. We tried to demonstrate as much as that is possible today. Click the link in the description box, which takes you straight through to their website. And guess what? You get 20% off if you add the code HASTE20. Look, get recreating this one. If you do, hashtag me as always and copy me in on the pictures. And I'll see you next week. Cheers then, bye-bye.